Okay, good afternoon. This is the March 3rd meeting of the Design and Project Review Committee. We do have a quorum. The first item of business is suspension of the rules. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to allow member participation electronically or by telephone.
Second.
All right, Michael Griffith, please call the roll.
Jonna, can you unlock my ability to share screen?
Let's see, did that help?
There we go. Can you guys all see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry.
All right, but call roll when you give a
All right.
moment.
All right, Naiden,
Aye.
Gertis,
Aye.
Biggs,
Aye.
Cano,
Yes.
Eckersberg, Vanetta,
Aye.
Pike,
Aye.
and Jones.
Aye.
Mario, Tristan.
Aye. Thank you.
All right, next up, meeting minutes of February 3rd. Is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion we approve the February 3rd meeting minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Naiden,
Aye.
Gertis,
Aye.
Biggs,
Aye.
Cano,
Abstain.
Eckersberg, Vanetta,
Aye.
Pike,
Aye.
Tristan,
Aye.
Jones.
Abstain.
Okay, motion passes. New business today is 1101 Church Street, recommendation to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Christopher Dillion, joint venture partner, submits for a major zoning relief to construct a third dwelling unit development with adaptive reuse and a 4-story rear addition in the R6 General Residential District. Variations requested include 24 dwelling units plus 6 IHO bonus units, where 15 dwelling units are allowed. 78.6% building lot coverage, where 65% is allowed. 0-foot street side yard setback to align with the existing structure, where 15 feet is required. 1.5 feet rear yard setback, where 25 feet is required, and 0-foot interior side yard setback for open parking when 5 feet is required, and 14 spaces where 22 parking spaces are required. So, Chris, do you want to start giving walking us through your proposal?
Sure. Let me share my screen. And just to introduce several of the team members that are with us today, Alex and Brian from ISA are joining us, and Tyler Quast from Blue Star Properties. So I'm going to go through some remarks that we prepared, as well as some brief slides. We do have additional information on the building design and whatnot, to the extent that folks want to dig deeper on a specific topic. So let me first just introduce the team from the development side. I work extensively with Bob Rehnquist and John Searles. So there's sort of a consortium of developers on our side, and we're teaming with Blue Star Properties. Again, Tyler Quast is joining us on behalf of Blue Star. Blue Star is the property owner, and they are a real estate development firm in their own right that has several notable businesses in Evanston. In terms of a little bit about us, we specifically focus on transit-connected urban projects. And what you'll find is that we also do projects that are very much designed forward. And we work with a number of notable architects, and we're really excited for this opportunity as well to work with ISA. More recently, we've also been doing a series of adaptive reuse projects. And so we're actually working on our second religious facility adaptive reuse right now. And through the work with ISA, sort of they helped illuminate sort of the potential with the sojourner in this case. And so just a little bit on ISA, and then I'll ask Brian and Alex to maybe briefly introduce themselves. But we've done an extensive amount of work with ISA over the years. I think what we find particularly compelling about ISA is they're really, really creative in the kind of missing middle space. They're based out of Philadelphia, and we think they bring a really unique perspective to the table. Brian and Alex, do you want to briefly introduce yourselves?
Sure. Hey guys, I'm Brian Phillips, the principal at ISA. And I'll just say to follow, and I'm going to take advantage of Chris's invitation to be brief. If you need any more information, I can fill in the gaps. But we have been working now for a decade and a half on sort of strategic infill, both small, like this 11-foot wide 7-unit building in the Chinatown section of Philadelphia, all the way up to sort of, Alex and I are working on a 1,000-unit multi-typology project on the Philadelphia waterfront. And we're also working around the country, I think, always interested in how to make the most out of the available land in a given place. And again, to make cities as attainable and accessible to as many people as possible for living.
Great. And so in general, we've done a series of projects with ISA over the years in the Chicago area, as well as in the Village of Oak Park, and we're excited by the opportunity to work with Brian and Alex again. I'll briefly introduce the site. I'm sure everybody's familiar, but we're talking about the northwest corner of Church Street and Oak Avenue. So we really kind of view this as an interesting location. It's obviously a residential zoning district, but it's also immediately adjacent to the downtown area, and it's transit rich. And really, we sort of view this as kind of an interesting gateway into downtown Evanston. Additional context just relative to the downtown area, Metra, as well as CTA, and of course, relative to the university and the other surrounding context. In terms of what we are proposing, the project will take sort of two parts. The first is an adaptive reuse of the church. And here we're envisioning townhome style 2-bed, 2-bath, and 3-bed, 2-bath units. Those will range in size from 1,100 to 1,400 square feet. We are envisioning that they will sort of showcase work from home functionality, which is obviously very relevant right now and something that people are thinking a lot more about. And these units will actually have private entries as well as outdoor space. As we shift to the new construction component, and we'll introduce this in a moment, these will be urban apartments. It'll be mid-rise in scale. They'll range from 550 to 1,100 square feet. And this building will be entirely comprised of 1-bed, 1-baths, and 2-bed, 2-baths. And again, we're going to really emphasize that outdoor connectivity piece, and we're looking at ways to sort of enhance the work from home functionality, even in smaller units. Briefly introduce the site plan. You have Church Street to the left here, Oak Avenue at the bottom of the screen. We're showing the existing church, which takes up basically the left-hand portion of the site. And then the new construction component is sort of an L shape that really takes the remainder of the site, if you will. Showcasing sort of the building envelope here. You can see a little bit of the parking, which we'll get into in a moment. Green roof at the roof, along with an activated roof deck. Here's a little bit of the site context. As I mentioned earlier, ISA really sort of illuminated the opportunity to save the church. Initially, we were struggling with the shape of the site and some of the challenges just inherent with the site. And we really sort of embraced the idea of saving the church. We think that it's the right move here, but it also creates some challenges, admittedly, with some of the site context and setbacks. But I think the important thing here, the church and the new construction component sort of stand shoulder to shoulder. So you can see that with the roof line over here. We are sort of restraining ourselves in the sense that the zoning, I believe, allows for up to 85 feet of height. We're obviously withholding that. And we're trying to do something that's a little bit more contextual, more mid-rise in nature. And it really sort of is inspired by some of our work, in particular, a project that we did called District House in the village of Oak Park, where we were at a similar size and scale and found that to be very successful, sort of a counterpoint to a lot of the larger scale development that we're seeing in many of our communities. I'll give you just a sense on sort of how the building relates to the surrounding context. So this is a south elevation. So this is looking north at Siena, directly to the north. There are two smaller buildings adjacent to the west. So this also gives you kind of a sense. Obviously, the south elevation, when you're on the street, will read very similar to the way that it does today. We would enhance and clean up the existing church, but then sort of behind those buildings, there would be the apartment component. This is the east elevation, so looking west. You can kind of get a sense on kind of the massing and scale and the relationship of the church and the new construction component. This is the north elevation, so off of the alley. So this is sort of looking through Siena to the south. And then, of course, the west elevation. So again, sort of acknowledging kind of the project's relationship to the downtown area as we look east. This is an updated rendering. We're in the process of enhancing this further, so there will be further updates as we move forward. But we can get into materiality if that's of interest. I've got that sort of in the appendix. We're happy to spend more time on design, but I know the main focus today is just kind of overarching on the proposal and how it relates to the zoning and the requested variation. So I'll jump into that. There are a series of variations that we're seeking. The first is a density variation. So we're proposing 30 units. And so when you factor for the affordable units and the bonus units, that equates to a 9-unit variation. And what I did here, just to kind of give you a frame of reference, was I took our average unit size and sort of allocated it to the site, if you will. So there are technically only 7 units in the adaptive reuse of the church, but those units are much larger than on average than the units elsewhere in the project. So just kind of giving you a visual reference of sort of what we're looking for from a variation perspective. We're also seeking a lot coverage variation. 65% is the code requirement, I believe, with on-site affordable. And so we're actually looking for 78.6%. In this case, the interesting thing that I would just simply highlight is at grade right now, we actually have, this is all kind of open air at grade. So there's about 62% coverage at grade, and then it jumps up to 78.6% above grade. So when you look at just the kind of the existing footprint of the church, as well as the at grade footprint of the new construction component, we're fairly close, but it's obviously above that where the variation is sort of relevant. Talk a little bit about setbacks. So there are 2 setback variations. There's technically 3. One's related to parking, but I'll talk about parking in a moment. We're looking for a street side yard variation. Again, the existing church is built right up to the street wall. We really kind of view, especially the location, given its connectivity to the downtown area. We're looking to sort of continue that street wall to the north. And so we have 0 proposed there. And then on the rear yard, there is a 25 foot setback requirement, and we're currently proposing 1.5 feet. And so you can kind of see if we, and these are approximations, this is the best I could do in PowerPoint, but if you sort of add in the setbacks, it really makes this component of the site very difficult to really achieve anything buildable. So that's one of the challenges or constraints with the shape of the site. We'll talk about parking. Obviously, that's come up in the community context, and it's always an important part of the conversation. So right now we're talking about providing 8 on-site parking spaces. And as the designs progressed, we've sort of been teetering between 8 and 9. So we still may be able to squeeze one more in there, but for now we knew that 8 was the most conservative figure. There is a parking setback requirement that we're seeking a variation on, and I've approximated where that setback would be. And you can see that if we adhere to that setback, that the parking that we can achieve on site would sort of be fundamentally changed and therefore reduced. And so that is just a juggling act trying to get an adequate number of parking spaces on site. And then obviously there's a requirement for 22 parking spaces driven by the unit count and the bed count. And in our case, we are very much receptive to an off-site parking solution. We've been working and engaging with several of the surrounding landlords and management companies to see if there's excess capacity in the immediate vicinity. We've also had initial dialogue with the city and are receptive to an off-site solution with the city. Still working through that. I think our preference would be to have some variation on the parking because we don't feel that 22 spaces are necessarily going to be utilized. But I think we're receptive to a consensus building there, both with the aldermen and city staff on what the appropriate number would be. The only other thing I would point out, and I just realized this before the meeting, but in the agenda for the meeting, it said 14 parking spaces, and I'm not sure if that is just a typo or if maybe street parking might be included, but I'd simply flag that just as a point of clarification. I will run through real quickly impact and proposed public benefits. In terms of public impact, we think that there are 3 main pieces to that. One, the adaptive reuse of an existing building that certainly has historic value. And we think, the right move here is to save that building, and we're excited by the opportunity to do so. The second piece, this is a property that has been off the tax rolls. So here's an opportunity to put it back on the tax rolls, and that's obviously advantageous. We've engaged with legal counsel on the tax front and estimate that about $135,000 of real estate taxes will result from the redevelopment. And lastly, this is more residents, more people in close proximity to downtown. So we think that there's obviously a win there for downtown businesses and the retail vitality of the downtown area. And then in terms of public benefits, we've had some initial dialogue. We've participated in a ward meeting. We've had some dialogue with the condo association president of Siena, and some of the things that we've been prioritizing, and we're certainly receptive to additional feedback. Alley resurfacing, the alley to the north of the subject property is in fairly rough shape, and I know that this is a priority for Siena as an example, but we've proposed to resurface half of that alley. We are looking at incorporating bird-friendly measures, which mean low reflectivity on windows, thinking about lighting on that roof terrace, which coincidentally is also a priority for Siena residents. And then The city, just with our dialogue, it's clear that the transit fund contribution is important, and we're very much receptive to that. It aligns with, I think, the values that we feel that we prioritize, both in terms of the types of buildings we want to deliver, as well as the people that will be living here, and the fact that we do believe that they'll be utilizing the immediate access to transit. On the affordable units, we're proposing 3 on-site affordable units, and we've been engaging with Sarah Flax regarding the opportunity to sort of market those as ADA adaptable affordable units, and we're still working through the details on that. There is an opportunity potentially with another not-for-profit to even create affordable opportunities for individuals with disabilities. And so that's kind of the path we're going down now. Obviously, if that were not to materialize, they would be regular affordable units at 60% AMI, but there is a potential for kind of a specialized market niche there. And then lastly, local hiring, as well as hiring of Evanston-based business enterprises. We're very much receptive. We will be self-performing the construction from a general contracting standpoint. And I think that lends itself to potentially both local hiring, as well as thinking about who we're engaging from a professional services perspective, and incorporating local businesses and MBE, WBE as well. So with that, I will open it up for questions, or Johanna, if you want to, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Chris. Start with any comments or questions, and what we'll do is if people want to message me directly, if they would like to provide public comment, I'll collect comment that way, and we'll do that in a little bit. If there are any staff comments, maybe we start on the exterior of the site. Are there any exterior, Chris, maybe you can toggle back to like just a site plan.
Sure.
So I think I'm looking to Public Works if you guys have any comments on this site.
I think one of our biggest concerns is that we ask that people doing developments replace the sidewalk along the public way with new sidewalk and bring it up to a new standard. That's always a big thing for us, is to make sure that that gets affected. And then in looking at this particular site, the alley that it borders is in really poor condition. And I think that the construction vehicles at the site will probably tear it up quite a bit more, since it's already deteriorated. So we would ask that the contractor mill and resurface the alley to give it a new driving surface when work is complete.
Okay.
I did have one question about the power poles in the alley. So where I see them on your site plan here, I think they're going to be very challenging for you to construct around. And it may be worth investigating burying the power poles where they're adjacent to your property. But one concern I have is the townhomes that are next to you that you're building around, they are getting their utilities going across the parking lot to their houses right now. And you're going to put a building in the way. So that's something that's going to need to be coordinated with ComEd and the other utilities.
Yeah, if I could maybe briefly respond to that. We have had dialogue with ComEd. We did look at the potential of burying the utilities, and the cost was sort of staggering, far beyond kind of the high water mark of what we were hoping to hear back based on our experience. And the other thing was there was the service to Sienna is right there, and there was some concern about how that would impact that. And so we are in dialogue with ComEd, and while the utilities obviously are kind of right there, they've acknowledged that if it conflicts with their building, that they have to reorient where those are on the pole. And so we're in talks with them about that. And obviously, relative to the homes here, there is another pole just to the west of here, I believe. But we're going to have to sort that out, and we recognize that we would have to coordinate that with ComEd. It certainly would have been our preference to put those to bury those, but I think that the cost is a big concern on our side.
Okay.
All right. Anything else?
Hey, Johanna, this is Edgar. Yeah, I just want to echo Laura's comment in regards to the alley, especially if we're only doing half the alley. I'm just worried if there'll be any drainage issues or anything like that, just because the other half is in bad shape. Along with that, too, just have a question with the trash receptacles. Where do they plan to put it out for service? Has that been thought of? With the setback only being a foot and a half?
Alex and Brian, do you want to take that question, and I'll see if I can find
Yeah,
maybe a first floor site plan.
yeah, we do have, there's a trash room that's opening directly onto the alley. So the idea would be that when trash is being picked up, it's being pulled out of the room directly and loaded so that there aren't any dumpsters being parked in the alleys itself.
So I did see the trash room. However, I do not believe that the hauler enters any other buildings in order to collect the trash. They need to be set out. Again, just something to think of. I don't know if they would do that for you, but I'm not aware of any other building that they do that for in the city.
We'll look into that. And some of our other projects, we have had arrangements where they will enter, but that is a good item to flag, and we're happy to look into that. I'd say worst case, we can always redesign this area so that it could be placed outside at the appropriate time for hauling.
Yep.
And then I think also I would say I hear loud and clear the message on the alley, and I think, you know, the public benefits, we've been working on refining those, and I think if that is an important priority for the city to do the entire east-west segment, we're certainly receptive to that.
Well, because your trucks are going to probably enter at one end and leave at the other.
Sure, that makes sense. Yeah.
The whole alley gets damaged when we have that kind of construction. So the current state of it is such that I don't think additional deterioration is going to do anybody any favors.
Yeah, I understand that. Like I said, we are receptive. I know that's also a priority for some of the neighbors in the engagement that we've had. So I think that's very much workable. I think the burying the poles, it has become very clear that that's going to be a real challenge for, at the end of the day. I know it's a 30-unit project, but we're the sort of challenge of absorbing a cost of the size that ComEd sort of quoted, and frankly the ambiguity around their pricing was one of the big concerns. I think that's one of the areas where we realized very quickly that that's probably not going to be workable.
And then one final comment in regards to just snow removal. Just please be aware the city does not plow alleys. So for the residents going to park in that lot, you're going to have to make some arrangements to clear the snow in case they get stuck. And also, I do see that your parking area is partially covered. Any area that you do get snow within the property line, you have to deal with that yourself. You can't push it out into the city property.
Understood. Yeah, we would have a contract for snow removal, and we would be happy to coordinate all that.
In terms of public benefits, additional public benefits that we appreciate, because we have sort of two standard initiatives we have going on, is if you're willing to donate funding to the city to replace deteriorated sidewalk squares within a few blocks of your building, but particularly on the block that your building is located on. And also funding for the city to convert all of the lighting fixtures to LED and modernize them on the circuit that you guys are in. So if you are investigating public benefits, I think both of those are really helpful to the city and do a lot to improve the pedestrian experience around your building.
Okay. Yeah, we're happy to look at that. And I know you mentioned the sidewalks in the immediate sort of surroundings. And maybe this is some of the dialogue I had with Melissa. I was under the impression that we would be required to replace those sidewalks anyway. So that was sort of one of our sort of assumptions going in, was that we would really kind of look at the streetscape here and kind of evaluate how we can improve that. And we are in the process of soliciting sub-consultant proposals, and we're making sure that that is included.
You're in an interesting space because, as you said, you're residential, but you're actually adjacent to a business district. And so we have a standard sort of sidewalk design, which is concrete with a brick paver ribbon, which is actually kind of implemented at the corner. But because you have grass parkway, if you keep that, then we wouldn't ask you to do that. But yeah, it is our standard that people doing a development or major construction update the sidewalk, just because sidewalk tends to be kind of the first thing to go, again, with all the heavy equipment and the construction and everything, to really refresh it and make sure that it's safe once you're done. But additional to that, a public benefit would be within a block or two of your building to donate us funding so that we will replace deteriorated sidewalk under a city contract.
Okay.
And trees. We've also, at 718 Main Street, the developer provided us funds for a period of time for each year to to plant new trees within a quarter mile of the property. So if something, if it makes more sense to sort of amortize the cost over multiple years, we can certainly work with you on those things. It doesn't have to be a payment up front in order to receive a FCO.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I think we're receptive to refining the list of public benefits with staff and, looking to build consensus on where to prioritize, the resources that we can contribute towards that.
Great. Any other comments about site from staff?
So just for clarification, so the residential structure just north of it will be demolished as part of the project?
Yeah, I believe that's formerly the parsonage, which is kind of roughly here where it says green roof. That would be demolished. We would also do pretty extensive interior demolition within the existing church. And then the new construction component would basically be where that existing building is and extend over a portion of the sort of the L shape.
Okay, so one of our requirements for these major projects is a construction management plan. That construction management plan would have to be approved prior to work starting, and that would include those demolitions. So pretty much it's going to lay out your logistics, your management of the program, of the project, I'm sorry, project schedules, etc. So I can send sample construction management plans to you. You have two major projects that are ongoing. One was just completed, one's ongoing. So I can send you those construction management plans to see what those look like.
We've actually downloaded those already. We've actually met with the site superintendent on with Synergy, and I know that several of my colleagues have been in touch with the city on the demo process. We're trying to get our arms around that process and what's required. So I think we have a good plan and in terms of what we need to put together to satisfy the city's requirements. And so I think we will look to start to formalize that in the next few weeks as we sort of map out our timing on the demolition process. But we definitely are accustomed to that process and look forward to reviewing that with the city.
Okay. Yeah, if you have questions on the demolition process, you can contact me. I'll be happy to assist.
Okay, thank you very much.
Can you speak to on-site bike parking?
Sure. You know, obviously, given the number of parking spaces that we are proposing, we're trying to really prioritize, or I think emphasize a lifestyle within this building. And so on-site bike parking is going to be a component of that. What we've typically done in other contexts is that we will incorporate secure bike storage. And Alex, I don't know if you have a specific plan as it relates to this in terms of where we might locate it, but I do know that it's also part of our lead requirement. And so that's one of the details that we're sort of sorting through. Alex, I don't know if you have additional clarity on that.
We don't, however, we've been talking about ways to potentially reconfigure the lobby slightly. And I think in doing that would, think strong about how to get the bike parking, securely located somewhere in the vicinity of the entrance, either from the parking or the sidewalk.
We've also talked about adding bike parking as a part of the streetscape. So if the city has a standard for that, we embrace incorporating bike parking, presumably somewhere on Oak or Church Street.
I think on-street bike parking would be great to include as part of the project, particularly for visitors to the site. But I would say that outlining where the on-site bike parking will go and the number of bikes that it will hold on-site will be important in future plans.
Okay. We'll make sure to come up with a solution that we'll call out on the next iteration.
Just one other comment on your mechanical units. They look rooftop. Is there sound attenuation or screening involved with the rooftop units?
Alex, would you mind fielding that?
Sure. At the moment, we have an area located, so it's kind of at the same level. It's adjacent to kind of the elevator penthouse, and so the parapet walls there are at guardrail height to begin with, so they should be screening things pretty clearly from the street. But we haven't looked yet at any type of sound attenuation, but I could imagine just in the same way that we're kind of cordoning off zones for an occupiable roof deck, that the mechanical could get screened in a similar way, that separation is being made between the green roof and the roof deck surface.
Okay, so we field a lot of complaints on mechanical units and the noise. We do have an ordinance in place that limits your decibel level to 55 measured at the property line. And the way that you have this set up here, those mechanical units are close to the property line. So yeah, just consider that the sound attenuation, should be considered as part of this design.
Understood.
Okay.
Hi, Chris. I had a quick question regarding parking. So I know you had reached out to me about leasing spaces there for 1800 Maple parking garage for this project. So I just wanted to let you know that we do have occupancy in that garage, and we can accommodate whatever that final number is going to be that you guys are going to be needing for your development. I know you mentioned that you were talking to some of the other landlords in the neighborhood, and I just wanted to let you know that, be advised that we're looking for a long-term commitment, and sometimes the landlords in the area can't always provide that. And if they say they can, sometimes it changes later. So I would ask if you could try to exclusively lease those spaces from us at the 1800 Maple garage once we determine what that right number is going to be for you.
Okay. Yeah, I think, as I mentioned, we've engaged with several folks in the surrounding area, not with limited success thus far. So I think that we're very much receptive to that.
Correct. Awesome. Sounds great. And then lastly, I think Paul Zamolzak had on the public benefits side, he may have conveyed that we were looking to have like 110 power to power a parking sign in the adjacent area there off of Church Street, indicating how many vehicle spaces we have available in our parking garages as cars are coming eastbound off of Church Avenue.
Okay.
So, yeah. So I don't know if that was with you that he had that conversation or who, but I know he had told me he had mentioned it to the group about providing 110 power on the parkway so that we can have that sign illuminated.
That was not on my radar, but we're happy to have, I can have my team look at that, and that sounds very much workable. So.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Anything else with site? All right. Anything on design? Chris, do you want to walk through any of the materials real quick?
Sure, and I'll let Alex and Brian kind of drive this process, but Alex, I don't know if you want to introduce just some of ISA's thoughts on the sort of design palette.
Sure. So these are two images from, I guess, recently constructed projects in Philadelphia. The one on the left is a series of single-family townhomes using both a kind of standing seam metal panel and a tighter corrugated metal panel in black with board form concrete at the base, which that's basically the corner there. So it kind of wraps the corner and lifts up kind of the darker massing at the intersection. And the project on the right is a recently completed conversion of an existing industrial complex in the Kensington neighborhood of Philadelphia. It was a yarn mill, so we added a single addition here in the middle, and I think here you're just kind of, again, seeing kind of some of the higher contrast of the new construction kind of separating itself here from the old to create contrast. We're looking to maybe do something similar here where we're playing off of the already painted brick of the existing church building. We do expect that to get refreshed, but it would remain kind of in a lighter tone. And then the dark standing seam metal would be the kind of, as you saw in the rendering earlier, the primary material for the facade of the new construction, with more of a perforated screen of similar tone in across. We have a series of Juliet balconies that provide more like larger openings to the outside for different units. And then we were playing with the idea at the base of the building, basically at the entry where very close to the existing church, of using either a white brick or potentially board form concrete, as you saw in that previous image, to kind of draw the material like connection between the old and the new. And we imagine kind of more of a subtle fiber cement in the parking area. So just looking at, these are a couple of just precedent images of a dark, basically black matte finish standing seam that's kind of in these two images, a varied width to, going from something a little tighter, less than typical for standing seam. And then I think the next image here, just again, some kind of precedent images of light brick that we kind of look to as how we might envision the base of the building turning out.
Any questions from staff on the materials? Too bad we're not in person. We could all pass around material boards and talk about it a little bit more easily, more tactile. All right, I'm seeing no, now time for public comment. The only comments I've gotten, Sue Carlson, did you have any comments you wanted to provide to the public?
No.
Sorry. Sue, I will pass along your comments that you sent to me to the developer for consideration. Anyone else for public comment? All right, if not, is there a motion? This is a recommendation to ZBA.
I'll make a motion for a positive recommendation to ZBA.
A second.
All right, Michael, please call the roll. He was having technical difficulties. Oh, no.
No.
Aye. All right, tell you what, I'm gonna go down the line. I'll do the roll call here. I'm just gonna go across the screen. Biggs,
Aye.
Rivera,
Aye.
Curtis,
Aye.
Vanetta. Oh, no, you don't vote.
Aye.
Well, maybe you do. I don't know. I don't know the list. Jones,
Votes, he's Dave's rep.
Aye.
Jano.
Yes.
All right. Eckersberg, I think I saw her say aye. Hink.
She's
Aye.
mute.
Okay, Mario, Tristan.
Aye.
How did you do that side? That's very impressive. Okay, and I think that's it, right? Ayes have it. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Thanks, everybody. See you later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.